Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Before we get into the topic of what we're going to be discussing this evening, we want to give a disclaimer and start this with, we're not glorifying these actions, these murders, the horrific things that we face on a regular daily basis. It's the reason why you clicked on the video, right? It's not what we're going to be doing. We're not going to be shedding light on anything that we don't already know. Some might be things we don't, some might not. But it's not the point of making this man a hero or making him the next John Wayne Gacy or Bundy or all of the ones that you already know. It's not about that. It's about the families that this man touched, destroyed, obliterated. It's about these victims that could have eventually been the next president, the next doctor, the person to cure cancer. They never got that chance. So today, we honor them, their families, their loved ones left behind, who only want answers. They don't care why, they don't care when, they don't care how. They just want to know that he's gone and nothing like this can ever happen again.
When you picture in your mind a really high-stakes criminal investigation, especially one involving a serial killer, there's a natural expectation of precision, almost like a surgical operation or high-level engineering. Crime is committed, yellow police tape goes up, forensics teams come in with white suits and secure the scene. They gather the evidence and run it through some sort of multi-million-dollar lab. The gears of justice just kind of turn until eventually they find the guy. It feels linear, kind of comforting to honestly think about it that way. Unfortunately, that's a very binary way of viewing it. Crime happens, evidence is gathered, a clue, a suspect, and boom, it's solved. Pop culture has conditioned us heavily to believe that's how it's done. Clue, suspect, interrogation, arrest. It's a clean, satisfying narrative arc. The system works, chaos happens, and bureaucracy and science step in to save the day and contain that chaos. We desperately want things to be solvable, broken or not broken. We want all the terrifying anomalies of human behavior to be neatly categorized, stamped, and filed away in some sterile metal cabinet in Washington, D.C. But the reality of historical investigation, particularly before the advent of digital databases and DNA profiling, those filing cabinets are completely overflowing, disorganized, and full of dead ends. Which brings us to our subject of today. Because the moment you step into the world of one of America's most infamous unsolved mysteries, the Zodiac Killer, that shiny, precise investigation machine completely breaks down. The gears are flying off, it's smoking, the operators are yelling at each other, and the manual is written in a language nobody understands. It's the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy water. And when you look through all the files, it gets muddier and muddier. The Zodiac case has been one of the most speculated cases in American history, and remains a stain on law enforcement's investigative history. Let's start with what we know.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Eddie Winchester. To my left is...
At Quinn.
And always to my right is...
Cadaver the Clown.
And this is Folklore&Felonies as Cadaver is swatting away a demon of some sort. Oh, I'm sorry, that's his child. I apologize.
No, you're right.
There's a difference.
Start with today's episode, which is about the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer was an American serial killer that was active kind of as a precursor to the USA's golden age of murder, as I like to call it, the 1970s. Believed to have killed 5 people, and it wasn't really believed in that sense. It was more of because when he originally taunted the police and taunted, the media, he gave them details of certain brands of ammunition, where certain bodies were located, how they were located, etc. Only things that the killer would actually know. So he told them, hey, she was located, 5 feet away from the car on her right side, etc. But believed to have killed 5 people between 1968 and 1969. That was believed to be the active period of the Zodiac Killer. He started in December 20th in 1968. He wound up killing a couple named David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. They wound up having a nice night out. They went to their high school's winter concert, and then they went to a diner. And from there, they went to a little lover's lane of sorts, and they parked there. And he wound up coming into his car. He pulled up alongside of them, and sat there and waited. And waited. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been into a situation like that, but have you ever sat there trying to have, I guess, some affection or trying to spend some quality time with your significant other or, your girlfriend, and then you have somebody watching you? It's very off-putting.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I think they've been there, done that,
I think we can all say we have.
I mean, Ed was there. He knows.
Ed was the creeper. But also taking into consideration that it was a well-known lover's lane for the area, how much suspicion would you really give to it?
I mean, the problem is if it's a well-known area that's lover's lane, I feel like a guy alone in his car, if that's the case, invites a lot more scrutiny.
Absolutely, but at the same time, do we know if they knew that he was alone? Could they see, with it being darkly lit, no headlights on, do we even know if they would have known?
I do believe that, it being darkly lit would give that air of mystery, but he didn't just stay there. He was in the car and watched them for a couple of minutes, and then he backed out, and then he left. And then came back and parked the car directly behind theirs, blocking them in.
Yeah.
He got out, blinded them with a flashlight. When he blinded them with a flashlight, David believed them to be the police, or believed him to be the police, and went to try and reach for his wallet to get his ID out. At that point, he went to get out of the vehicle, and that's when it started, and he wound up shooting both him and Betty Lou, and he wound up killing them both. Then a couple of weeks later, he sent it out to the news, and he called a police station. And what's really crazy about it was he went to a police station, a payphone that was literally a few blocks away from the police station, to make that call. And he told them things about the crime scene that only he would have known, such as Betty Lou's body, where she was in relation to the vehicle, how she was situated in relation to the vehicle, and where David was and where he was situated, and the type of ammunition that was used, how many shots he fired exactly. When the police went up there, they started collecting evidence. They realized that was definitely the man who killed it, because the only people who would have known that information were the police that were investigating it and him.
Do we know the timeline or the time frame of police arriving on the scene and media arriving on the scene?
No, I did not find that out. I didn't look into that, but I do know that at this point, it was seen as like a one-off killing at the time,
right?
Because nobody really believed that this was a serial killer until the next shooting was July 4th, where Michael Mago and Darlene Ferrin, where they were attacked, and they were friends. They were, they had just from what I understand, they had wound up going out and doing a couple of things on Independence Day, and they wound up going out and seeing fireworks. Then they went and parked their vehicle there into another parking lot for a very well-known park. And he wound up coming in there, and he opened fire on them, shooting them multiple times. I believe it was 5 or 6 times. And Michael Mago actually survived the attack, and Darlene Ferrin passed away shortly after. So it was the same MO. And the bigger problem turned into the fact that nobody from where this happened, the original crime happened, and where this one happened, was speaking to each other. So they didn't really know that this was a serial murder. They just thought they were one-offs, until, again, he called the police. Told them the exact type of brand. He told them everything. So now they're starting to connect things. Then he escalates and goes from July 4th to September 27th, 1969. There he attacks Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. And this attack was brazen and different in the fact that it wasn't under the cover of darkness. It was in the middle of the day. They were having a picnic, and he came out. And when he came out, this was also the first time anybody had seen him wearing the iconic hood that the Zodiac Killer has been known to wear, and that's where that sketch came from of him wearing it. It was what looked to be a black executioner's hood that went down to his shoulders, and he had lenses from a pair of aviator-type sunglasses that were mirrored inside the eye hole so you couldn't see his eyes. On that black hood, on his black hood, he had that circle with the crosshair. What he did, he came out.
Zodiac.
What was that?
Which later then became the sign of the Zodiac.
Well, that's how he also signed all his letters.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, he wound up getting out there, and he came out with several pieces of pre-cut rope. And he came out there. He used his pistol, and he pointed it at Cecilia and Brian. He forced Cecilia to tie Brian up. After Cecilia tied Brian up, he proceeded to tie up Cecilia and then proceeded to start stabbing Brian. He stabbed Brian, I believe, 11 times.
Jeez.
And then he turned himself to Cecilia and he stabbed her from what I believe it was 22 to 24 times. Brian survived and Cecilia died in the hospital a couple of days later. Brian was able to give a description, and so was Michael Mageau, and they were both able to give descriptions of what he looked like. Unfortunately, Brian gave the description of with the hood and the glasses, whereas Mageau told that actual preliminary police sketch that we have, that's where that came from, was from that Michael Mageau description. Shortly after that, he wound up going in October. He took a taxi into the. Well, I'm going to have to find that later. He took a taxi on October 11th, 1969, into San Francisco, and I believe it was Presidio Heights, and it's a very well-to-do area. And then from there, he shot and killed the taxi driver, Paul Stein. He shot and killed him, and then what he did was he took a square of Paul Stein's shirt to keep as a souvenir or a trophy.
Interesting. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, his blood-covered shirt. And what
the more you know.
Well, what he did, what he did was he wrote on the door of the taxi in a marker. He wrote the date and he wrote what he did. He said killed by firearm or gun, on there, because what he was basically doing at that point was he was basically curating his own museum exhibit. That's how narcissistic he was. He wanted that to be. He was trying to leave a legacy.
Right.
Now, when you look at when you look at all the stuff that wound up combined with this, you realize that this whole thing is the textbook picture of systemic breakdown of the investigative process. And I mean, with him, he was mailing letters after this from 1969 to 1974. He was mailing out letters to, Ciphers, letters to the media. And what he started doing in 1969 is when he sent out that first cipher, what he did was he mailed it out on the same day. Three different papers received three different portions of this. And he said, you need to print this out on the front page. And he started saying and threatening that if you did not, he would kill people. The first one stated that if you do not put this on the front page, and he did it to all these three different things, he stated he was going to walk out into the street and kill a random person. So to make sure that the cipher was put in and that nobody skimped on it, he sent three different parts of the same cipher to the news. When he sent that out, he wound up people were trying to figure out what it was and what was going on. So they had the U.S. government put out all their biggest and brightest thinkers, you would call it. Naval intelligence, the FBI, the CIA were all trying to crack codes here. And it was eventually cracked, but not by any of those three. It was cracked by a high school teacher and his wife over the course of a couple of days while sitting there with it on their table drinking coffee in the morning.
As one does.
Some people do crosswords. Other people do code ciphers.
That's it. But the The 408 cipher was what it was called, but it was solved by Donald and Betty Hardin, and I believe we discussed this before, but I feel like the term like Betty is just hard name, so strange because it just has a random E at the end of it, which I find very, 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 very interesting in the sense of the cipher, the way that it was solved. So hold on, move that. Sorry, I'm trying to move this thing over here. There we go. So the cipher that was used, it was basically done as a manual pattern analysis, right? What they did was they basically matched up letters. So the most used letter in the English language is what?
We have 3 at least on the screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a W?
No.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We got 5 so far.
7.
For E?
Oh yeah.
What to say? I just pointed to it.
But yes, the letter E is the most used letter in the English language. So now, judging from that, if you look at those actual symbols, if you see one point pop up more than any others, chances are it's a good possibility that it's the letter E. So what they did was they worked that out and they moved back and they moved to another letter and moved to another letter, eventually solving the entire thing. Now, that first cipher, what it actually says, do you know what it said?
I don't remember.
It says I like killing people because it's so much fun. A decoded message expressed his twisted desire to collect slaves. He basically said that he likes killing people because it's so much fun, and that he's not afraid of the gas chamber because all the people that he killed would be his slaves in the afterlife.
Well, shit.
Yeah. So now that one was solved, but it was frequency analysis and cribs, right? So it took them a couple of days to actually break the substitution, because what the Zodiac did was he made it and tried to make it harder, substantially harder, because he figured out the crib and the frequency analysis, and he said that, well, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that several different symbols can mean one letter. And the bigger portion of what he did was when he said, "I'm not afraid of the gas chamber," he said his actual words were, he said when it kills him, it'll bring him to paradise. But he spelled paradise incorrect. When he said that he enjoys killing people, it's better than hunting game in the forest. He spelled forest incorrectly with 2 R's.
That was by design.
Huh?
That was by design.
Yes. He did it by design because he's not stupid. He has a very, very, very good grasp of prose and of the language that he's using. So my guess is he's trying to make himself look dumb.
I was about to say we've got an educated individual with I'm going to go with the fact that he's using ciphers and the fact that it's so easy that a school teacher and his wife were able to decrypt it, but FBI agents, CIA agents, local law enforcement, major organizations that do this on a regular basis weren't able to decode it or decipher it. That, to me, almost, and we're coming off of World War II, that almost tells me, that almost says military of some form.
That was actually a thought process. Was even one of the suspects was actually a crypto analyst for the Navy. But now the other portion of this, the bigger thing that's this time frame, which was really crazy about it, was this was ass deep in the middle of the Cold War.
Right.
So
I meant Cold War.
What was that?
I made a mistake. I said World War II. I meant Cold War.
Well, I mean, World War II, that kind of pushed into it. But this is right during the middle of the Cold War. So how many people, analysts, do you think are sitting there staring at Russian code all day?
All day long.
All day.
Few
So
and
I
far-
find it amazing. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I said few and far between, but still.
So I mean, but like you have all these governmental agents and military. I guarantee you the CIA sat there staring at Russian code literally like this all day.
Yep.
What is this?
He's no good. He's no good.
What does this say? It's a shit.
Sheet. But so I mean, I find it really, really just mind-bogglingly stupid that they could not pick up on this guy's code. So it's either one, they weren't taking it seriously. Number two, which is probably the bigger one, the person that was actually sending the code was just so intelligent about actually doing this that they were trying to push ways to throw people off. Or number three, which is probably likely, the U.S. government is filled with a bunch of jackasses.
Yeah.
And that's not to disparage the U.S. government, but I'm just saying sometimes, if
Option A goes hand in hand with option 3.
yeah, so that's those together. Incidentally, do you know how hard it is to do that? Go ahead, Ed. Let's see you do it.
Do what? What the fuck is that? I can't.
You're like, oh, they go out. Option 1 and option 3 go together. Okay.
Okay.
It's weird because whenever you go to put your ring finger up, for some reason, it always wants to bring a friend.
Yeah.
That's your middle finger. But yes, I digress.
If I can also left turn us here, you said that Forrest was spelled with 2 R's.
Yes.
Isn't a common surname of Forrest, doesn't it have 2 R's as well?
Yes, it does, but I don't think he was talking about the forest, such as like Forrest Gump, or I mean, just to throw that out there.
Oh, but what? It almost makes me wonder if at any point, if they would have taken it, because I'm right there with you, Cadaver. They didn't take it as seriously as it should have been until it blew up way out of proportion. But it almost makes me wonder if that was a hint to himself because of how narcissistic he is, because of how, especially with, who was it you said that was at the park?
Oh, the ones at the park were
Celia and Brian?
Yeah, Celia, that was the picnic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clearly there's narcissistic tendencies. Clearly there is a cry for attention. I wouldn't put it past the thinking of, I gave you the damn answer. It's right there in front of your fucking faces and you didn't catch it. I put my last name.
Well, I mean, like even with that stuff, the FBI had their best, analysts working on handwriting analysis and everything else. And they did a psychiatric evaluation based on handwriting, and what they said was that he has narcissism with extreme damn it, it was right there, but they said that he had extreme feelings of inadequacy, so he wants to make himself feel more, so they said that he had very distinct ways of writing. Number one, he stayed away from cursive at all costs. For some reason, he just had no interest in it. Everything was done with block letters. They said that he had a very distinctive 3-stroke K. So now when you think about writing your K, so
Interesting.
And it was so distinctive to the point where the analyst said that if I ever saw his writing again, I would immediately know it's his. But now the problem goes from, you can recognize his writing anywhere, but you cannot use that to identify the man holding the pen.
Right.
So that was a huge dead end. Otherwise, everything that went on, I mean, back in those days, 1960s, 1970s, we had very, 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 very basic and Stone Age, technology for that era. I mean, the computer was about the size of a gymnasium, So, I mean, what they would have to do is they'd have to teletype, or they'd have to send out messages from, wherever they were to the FBI's headquarters in Virginia and DC, etc. So what they were basically doing was they'd say, hey, we have a suspect who we believe is this doofus. Somebody told us, it's this guy from Indiana, and there's one from Texas. He said, hey, we want to see if his fingerprints match. So they'd have to take their picture, pull the latent print off, put it onto another piece right here, send it out, teletype out to DC or, Virginia. Somebody would have to print out that teletype, go, okay, walk it down some long-ass governmental hallway, and then bring it in to this room of really big filing cabinets, and they'd have to walk over to where they believe the names were, open it up, start looking for it, pull out this card, set it down, take the picture of the print, and then sit there with a magnifying glass.
Right.
To make sure the loops and swoops and see if they match. The problem would then turn into that would take weeks,
if not longer.
Yep. And then they'd have to send a teletype back, negative, not a match.
Right.
How long did it take that school teacher to decode it?
A couple of days.
Okay.
It was a few days of working on it.
But and that was based off of the first cipher, right?
It was the first cipher, yes.
When was the first cipher released?
It was in 1969.
No, the month.
Hold on. I'll get to it. It was July 31st, 1969.
So it's a school teacher in the dead middle of the summer with nothing else to do with him and his wife's time.
In a week.
They're probably enjoying the summer vacation and whatnot, and
exactly. And again, some people do crosswords with their coffee, some people do code ciphers, and
he sent it to the Examiner, to the Chronicle, and the Times Herald.
Oh, wow.
Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ.
And that's it. That's just basically you hit the nail on the head. It's a high school teacher who has nothing to do.
Right.
But he sent more than one cipher.
Didn't they assume that the teacher was a suspect?
They didn't really. I mean, it could be, but the whole thing is, I feel like the suspect, that it wasn't really that push of a suspect. It was more of I feel like they had their guys out working, trying to figure this thing out. And, to say that a school teacher, wound up going against the best investigative minds the U.S. government has to offer, and basically showed them up. They got a little on the tushy troubled side.
Fancy and the pantsy.
Got a little butt hurt. He did their job better than they did their job.
Right.
That's it.
But you can kind of play devil's advocate with it, because like we were just saying, how many people were trying to decode Russian messages? How many people were trying to decode, I mean, even taking it as far back as, the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch that I absolutely loved, but the code that they were able to decipher from Germany. You can only have so many people working on one thing for so long before something bigger, something major, something like a fucking war going on. And, back then, like Cadaver started with saying, this was the beginning of the golden age. This was way before we even had the, coined phrase serial killer. It was still multiple killer at this point in time. So they didn't know. And remind me, before San Francisco, where were the first two murders?
It was San Ysidro and the other one was
all in California, right?
Yeah, they're all California, Northern California at that.
This is how professional we are.
This is how professional we are now. Tune in, folks. Wait until the 100th episode. We're still going to be this professional.
No, you're going to have consistency. That's it.
So you've got to take into consideration, this isn't LAPD.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to jump on that soapbox, but this isn't LAPD. This isn't NYPD. This is small town.
The Bay Area, that's where it was. Benicia, it was Lake Herman Road. That was the first one. Blue Rock Springs Park was in Vallejo. And then Napa County was Lake Berryessa, which was Cecilia and Bryan. And then the last one was Presidio Heights in San Francisco. So a good portion of these are out in the middle of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, his last one is in the middle of a very, very, very hustling, bustling area.
We went San Francisco. We went.
Yes, right. That's one of those things. I mean, could you imagine the murder in Wine County, man? Wine country over there.
Right.
Now, so getting back to Ciphers, sorry.
So these are small local PD thinking that it's, like you were saying earlier, Cadaver, a one-off. Like, this isn't going to happen again. This doesn't ever happen here. It's a sleepy town where everyone knows everyone. You know, we're immortal out here because nothing ever happens.
Well, then the bigger issue turns into the fact that Benicia, Lake Berryessa, all your different small departments are all trying to solve this one case, and then San Francisco comes in with their homicide detectives trying to solve this one case. The sheriff's department's trying to run into this too, and then all of a sudden the FBI. Now, the bigger problem we had with them was there was no real cooperation. Each one of them is working on this like, this is mine. I'm not showing you anything. So just think,
we're going to solve this.
You have multiple pieces of this same puzzle sitting on different desks in each different county doing Lord knows what.
Yep.
So now if they were all to actually come together and put those together, do you think they would have actually worked it out?
Absolutely.
The other problem is everything was just horribly slow at this point. So you have these police forces that are basically, I'm just not using the term bumbling, but they're trying to feel their way around something they don't truly understand yet. And now the problem is you have a killer who's doing things that he has his own ways and means and feelings about it, and his own motivation, and he's running circles around them. So now the other portion is there were a couple of other ciphers that were sent out, basically other codes that were sent out. You have the first one was the 408, which is the 408 character. Then you had the 340, which is the 340 character. You had two others. One was the Z13, and then you had the Zodiac 32 ciphers. The 340 character cipher remained unsolved for a very long time. Do you know how long?
I think they deciphered it in 2020.
Yep, 51 years.
Oh, damn. Well,
51 years, and it was an amateur team. They were tech people, and what they did was they created a algorithm and it basically its own engine to do it, and they were able to crack that one. But the two others, the 32 and the 13, are still unsolved to this day.
Do you think the 32 and the 13 was actually him?
I think it was, but I think what he did was when Donald and Betty Hardin finished that first one, he decided, okay, I'm not doing it this way anymore, and he made it harder to try and figure out.
Right. The reason why I ask is because why would the killing stop but the ciphers didn't?
Because what I think, and this is just my speculation, because he stopped killing because he realized the terror that he can inflict on the United States or the American people, not even by killing, but because he could do it with the stroke of a pen.
Well, he's already proven that he can do it.
Mm-hmm. Because he didn't have to kill to do it, to make people afraid. All he had to do was write out stuff and send it out. It was all performative as you can get, man. That was it. He was basically, at the time, it was basically, look at me, that's it. Now, his threats remained with everything that he sent out. His whole idea was, if you don't do what I say, things will happen.
Right.
One of his more well-known threats with that was he casually mentioned in his letter that school buses make good targets.
Hey, the school bus.
What he said was he would shoot out the wheels or the tire on a school bus, and his exact words were, "Pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out."
Eddie, you good over there?
This is terrible.
It really is, but I mean, again, I feel like it's performative. It really is. He has now figured out that he does not need to do any of this to actually, to gain that notoriety.
Now, question: do any of us think that would he have gone that far?
In what sense? In doing that, I think he would have.
In an escalation pattern, see, I'm kind of. I kind of teeter-totter on the line of yes and no, because having the proof of the fear is one thing. But what if at any point they called his bluff and they didn't, I almost said upload it. Oh, God, it's the time we live in. They didn't post it. It wasn't in the newspapers. It wasn't on the news shows any longer. What if they called his bluff?
I don't think that was a bet they were willing to take, because remember, it's not like calling his bluff was like, hey, he's not going to do it. It's nothing. No, the wager here were human lives.
Right. Absolutely. So to go as big and bold and as brazen as he did, and then for him to just stop, it's clear he has the tendency to do it. So that's my yes. The no is, you had such a long cool off. You had December to July, then July to September, September to October. You went rapid after your second one, and then you just stop. And a cab driver, which is totally such a different MO than what he had with the previous two, and then you just stop.
I mean, there's reasons for it. What if he only built up those first few cases and murders that he did just to show that he can do it?
Just so that he's actually capable of doing something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically saying, all right, well, I did this, which would make sense with him calling the police and saying, hey, this is what I did, and him cataloging it on, Stein's door and trying to say, hey, this is what this was, and then pushing that whole narrative of, if you don't do what I say, people will die. What if he did that just to build that up so people don't question him? Remember what I said? I said the police weren't really sure what they were dealing with here ultimately. Now, the other portion of this turns into the fact that there are so many disconnects while this is happening that the justice machine just breaks down over everything. Just every little bit, there's pieces falling off everywhere. And it's an unfortunate thing because while this is a failure of the system, the bigger portion is people died.
Right. Absolutely.
There are people out there that will never get the justice for their family members that they deserve, because now it's believed that if he is out there, he's probably dead at this moment. But most of these places, with the exception of San Francisco, have closed these cases out. San Francisco still has it open.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. That's how we got, and that's why I was like, well, when you said he's probably ascended now, we got BTK.
Mm-hmm.
We got that motherfucker. So
now hold on. What I think of now, this is going to be, if you guys ever watched the movie The Dark Knight.
Who hasn't seen The Dark Knight?
You'd be surprised. I met a few people where I thought it was, But here's what I think of when I think about what's going on in the homicide office at the San Francisco Police Department. Is it looks like this, like in the movie where it says Batman suspects?
yes.
That's what I think it looks like in there when they say Zodiac suspects, a picture of Elvis, Bigfoot,
So now that we've segued into that, do we have suspects, Cadaver?
We do have suspects. There were a couple of suspects, but I feel like with that, We are going to do a second episode of this, and I feel like we should get deeper into the suspects in that episode. So this way we have the basis of the crime. Then the next one we go towards victims and the suspects, and any folklore bit of this, etc., movies, etc. But the suspects there was a couple of main suspects that were very, very, very interested. The police were very interested in. The biggest one was a guy named Arthur, and he was just an all around lovely individual. And I believe I made mention to this earlier, though. He was his friend wound up calling in the FBI and the police saying, "Hey, I think my friend Arthur did this," because he would go out drinking with Arthur, and they would sit outside of his house and talk. And Arthur made mention to several times wanting to kill people. And he also made mention to trying to create a flashlight on the tip of his weapon.
Damn.
To do it so
his homeboy fucking snitched him out.
Yeah, man, you got dimed out, bro.
Yeah, man.
Listen,
But
You can't trust anybody.
I understand stitches get stitches, but in a situation like this, my guy, when it's starting to creep out your best friend out, like that's cool.
The biggest one happened when before all this started. Arthur made mention that he likes the name Zodiac. But the problem turned into, while all this evidence is glaring, and I mean more red flags than a Chinese Communist rally party, but while all this evidence is glaring, or while all it's just hearsay, really.
Right.
There's no guarantee that it's true. So there's no circumstantial evidence to actually pinpoint that down, and the evidence did not support the fact that it wasn't Arthur, even though Arthur was a grand scumbag for the ages. And I'll tell you this, if anybody that's related to Arthur is actually listening to this, I don't care. He's a scumbag. I'm sorry. I know you can't help it, but why are you flipping me off?
Not you.
Off?
I was like, that's rude. But yes, the guy, just all around jizzbag. And if we ever post this to YouTube or anything of that nature, that's going to be just demonetized right off the bat, and I apologize.
No, because according to the YouTube guidelines, you cannot cuss within the first 5 minutes, so we're good.
Yeah, all right. This is the tail end here.
Well, that we've got that out of the fucking way, you pieces of shit.
We're all right. We solid.
I hope wherever Arthur is currently, I hope it's nice and hot, and he's currently getting a pineapple shoved up his ass like Hitler.
And nobody told him to get in the
Don't
blast.
forget, you're shoving a pineapple of Hitler's ass at 3 p.m. If anyone gets that reference, put it down in the comments.
Now you're watching
Please.
us.
Incidentally, it's also one of my favorite movies. I'm just saying. Very quotable,
For anybody who understood those references, we'll be at your front door with a flask in about 5 minutes. Don't worry about it.
You'll be on your way home soon enough.
So I mean, just that blows my mind. The fact that they have all of this that was dimed out by his friend, which, by the way, incidentally, his friend calling the police and saying, "Hey, my buddy said X, Y, and Z," made him a suspect too.
Naturally.
Yeah.
So now the police were looking at him too, which really sucks, because if you're just the guy who's like, "Hey, I think you guys should check out this dude. He was saying some outlandish shit,"
You can't say if anybody knows anything, please call or please come or please say, and then, hey, I've got something to say. I think I might know something. And they're like, cool. So we're checking him out, right? Like, we're going to keep him for observation and interrogation and investigation, right? Right. Cool. Okay. Thanks.
Judging just by what you said, just imagine this, and I know this is a little off topic. Living in New York City, and Ed will 100% attest to this.
Do I have to?
Right after 9/11, there were signs everywhere in New York City that says, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
How many people do you think called in and then got themselves investigated?
Right.
All of them.
One of them. And
That's why New York, and Ed will again attest to this, being from New York, and him too. New Yorkers Don't see shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking nothing. It has nothing to do with me. That's their business over there.
That's just not New York. That's anywhere.
If there's a dude getting his ass beat on like the side of the subway,
It's their
you
business,
you
bro.
just look over here. You're just like,
I got nothing to do with that over there. They're working it out.
Yeah.
Right.
But and you can't even say that though, Kat, because when I was in the South, people for some reason
Okay, yeah.
don't know what it was, but they had a staring problem.
Yeah.
Like you'd sit there and they'd be like,
No, yeah. You're okay, good point. You're not wrong.
Meanwhile,
I
in
think
New York,
I
you
think we're
stare
getting
at
into a
somebody-
little bit of dangerous territory. We keep talking about the South like that.
Oh my God, yeah. They're going to come after us with their guns in NASCAR. But
Hey.
Hey, what's wrong with NASCAR, man?
hit both of you at once. Good God.
Race hell, praise Dale, motherfucker. Come on now. Shit.
But
I never so much got into NASCAR, but everything else is pretty much the truth.
you broke me. But yeah, so I mean, just like if you stare at somebody that long, like you go into New York and you stare at somebody that long, you're asking for a fight.
Yeah. And like, in
trust
New
me.
York, if someone's staring at you for that long, what the fuck you looking at? You got a problem?
Hey, you lose something over here, man? What's
Yeah.
up with you?
And of course,
So-
say Sweet Pea, and then you hear the parent of the person you called Sweet Pea say, "It's okay, she's not from here."
In New York, that don't happen.
Yeah, it did. I was the person who said Sweet Pea to a little kid, and the little kid looked over at his dad, and he was like, "What's a Sweet Pea?" And the dad goes, "Don't worry about it, bud. She's not from here."
That's because you're that. Yep, never mind. Not going to get into that. Oh, bless your heart.
Shut up. And ain't you a daisy of a peach?
Hold on, let me go look that up in my Southern vernacular guide here.
Means you're a piece of shit. All right.
That look, at least I can admit it. I know I am. I'm well versed in that. I know it's at this point it's become a part of my personality, and I can do nothing about it.
This is true. I can attest to this.
Nobody asked you.
Hey.
But what exactly do we think went wrong with the investigation of this piece of shit?
With Arthur or with the Zodiac in general?
Zodiac in general, because you had touched on it a little bit earlier of too many hands in the cookie jar and nobody's saying that they've got the milk. So
Okay, I get what you're saying there.
I was about to say that's another Southern thing.
I'm
Basically,
picking up what you're putting down. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm stepping in what you're dropping. But I can basically unequivocally say what I believe that went wrong in this investigation was every fucking thing.
And that's the episode, folks. Have a good night.
But no, to give you a little more back, I'm guessing that it was because the communication was broken down. That's a huge one. Communication's always key.
The primitive
two.
technology, we just didn't have
primitive
it.
technology. You didn't have the databases you have now. You didn't have, your DNA. You didn't have, what's really crazy though? The postage stamps that they had, they did a DNA swab on them later on. So more nowadays, they
Do we
did DNA
still
swab.
have that familiar DNA?
Well, they did. And that's the other thing. Arthur's DNA did not match. So that was the thing. That's one of the things that cut him out. Now, granted, you could say, hey, maybe he used a sponge. Maybe, he asked somebody, hey, could you lick this? But could you just imagine trying to take a letter, walking out to someone in the street, handing them a stamp and going, could you lick that for me?
Well, no, because Arthur had, again, we'll get into this in part 2, but Arthur had a family, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So at any point in time, he turns to his wife, his partner, his significant other, or one of their children and says, hey, can you mail this for me? Or can you get this ready for me?
But the problem turns into this, though. If you're doing that, at this point, the Zodiac was big news in that area now. Big news. Everybody knew about him. Everybody knew who it was. If somebody hands you, like, let's say your boyfriend, husband, whatever else, significant other, hands you a letter, and you just so happen to peek and see it's a letter filled with random codes, wouldn't that throw any sort of,
I'm diming you out with the quickness. Like, who? Like, I would snitch. I would snitch.
Yo, Snitchy Mickey, relax over there.
I don't give a fuck. I'll snitch.
Duly noted. Never let Eddie or Cadaver.
I never said I would snitch. That's your boy over there. He's ready to snitch.
I don't give a fuck. I'll snitch real quick. I'll be fucking 6'9" up in this bitch.
So duly noted.
Ed's over here like, I'm going to get a sore throat from all the singing I'm going to do.
What I'm saying.
Just put me in some Whip Pro, I'll be good to go.
That's right.
Thanks.
But, I mean, like, you hand somebody a letter and you see ciphers or codes and stuff like that.
But who's to say that, like, clearly if he's doing shit like this, be it Arthur, be it whoever the douchebag is, who's to say that the cipher was already in the envelope? I mean, you just walk up and like, hey, can you stamp this for me? I'm running out the door. Like, I got to get it sent off later. Can you just do this for me real quick?
In all honesty, if somebody came up to me and was like, hey, could you stamp this for me real quick? I'd be like, bro, why can't you do it? You're standing here literally. Come on, man. What the hell's wrong with you?
Okay, fair. But you also have to think of the times. If he had gone to his...
Did you smell a letter Brokeback Mountain style? Yes.
Oh my God, y'all are horrible. But with it being the time, it wouldn't be so outlandish for a husband to come to a wife and basically the wife, the female partner being the secretary of the household, for lack of better terms, for that time period. It wouldn't be too far of a stretch. Now, with the DNA not matching to Arthur, that can go so many different directions. It could have been a sponge. It could have been a partner. It could have been Jim, Jack, Joe, Jose on the street. There's no. You're just going to take me apart.
Who's Jim Jack?
Honey, you take a break from that fine lead-based paint and go and lick this envelope for me.
Literally.
You go ahead and do that. I'll pick you up some more of that Tupperware you like.
You'll have a new vacuum on Friday, and I won't. No, we're not even going to go down that rabbit hole. We're going
to get you that brand new Electrolux.
I just might let you have $5 for a new pair of shoes.
You spoil me.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I'm not going that far. Anyways. So,
sweetie, with my fist. I had to. I'm sorry. That wasn't to offend anybody. That wasn't. I apologize.
Listen, if you are offended easily, this is not the podcast for you. Clearly, we're starting with the Zodiac Killer, so shit's gonna get shitty.
And plus, that was an episode of Family Guy. So.
Yeah.
Last week I stubbed my toe and took it out on the dog.
Circling back.
I ran out of ice cream and I struck my wife.
My wife's been dead for 30 years. Who the hell did I hit?
Who the hell did I hit?
Circling back to the Zodiac children.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to be somewhat professional. I lost my question.
Circling back to the Zodiac.
No, it's gone. We have Arthur. Were there any other honorable mentions, or lack of better terms, that?
We'll get to that. I feel like we have a lot to dig through when it comes to the suspect list. So, I mean, there's just some lovely guys that really bear mentioning, but I feel like we can get more into that in the next episode. Because I feel like we're rounding down as it is.
Absolutely.
Incidentally, Kat, anytime you stop to think, that's what you're going to hear.
Thanks.
If anybody hasn't gotten that joke, it's because she's currently sitting ass deep in the South.
And loving every minute of it.
For those who can't see
you laughing about up there, Ed? You got freaking you and your goddamn fucking, Colonel Sanders fucking mustache and goatee thing going on.
Yeah, y'all alternative ass.
Check out that banjo. Medulla oblongata.
The medulla oblongata.
Something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
Something wrong with that boy.
Give your regards to my dear mama, to your dear mama.
Well, we're gonna get some shit. I know it.
The facial hair you got going on there? Hidalgo.
It's not wrong. Are there any other suspects? We're going to get into that in the next episode. As we said, the next episode is going to be, like Cadaver mentioned, focusing more on the suspects that we do have, the knowledge that we have of them. We're going to get deeper into the victims, who they were. Eddie will take us on a wonderful little dive of the folklore, especially with the 2017 movie of the Zodiac, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo. So please stay tuned. We hope you enjoyed this first episode. Again, I'm Kat Quinn.
I'm Eddie.
I'm Cadaver the Clown.
And this has been Folklore and Felonies. Catch you on the next one.